Welcome to Ladies in Production podcast, where we talk about animation and VFX production through the female lens.
Hey guys, welcome to Lipp, Ladies in Production podcast. Today we have a special guest whom I had the honor to work with at Walt Disney Animation Studios. She has a very deep knowledge of animation, especially 2D animation. And we're very excited to hear about her career journey. Please welcome Lureline Kohler. Yay!
Thank you.
Hi,
Thanks.
Lureline.
Hi.
We're big fans.
Yes, we're big
We love
fans.
your work.
Oh, thank you. I'm really glad to be here.
Lureline, can you please give us a brief introduction of what your role is?
Okay. Well, I started in 2D animation in 1979. That was the year after I arrived in Los Angeles from Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just kind of happened into the business, actually. It was almost accidental.
Really? So
Yeah.
you didn't know about the 2D
No.
animation?
No.
Why'd you move out here?
I didn't know anything about animation, except that, I used to always watch Wonderful World of Color while I was growing up, and I loved animation, but I didn't really know anything about the business. So I moved out here because I'm an artist. I've always been an artist. There's not much work for an artist in Memphis, Tennessee. And I had been sent out here for a GIA seminar by a jewelry company that I worked for in Memphis. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the Pacific Ocean and everything, the beautiful people, and I loved it. So I moved out here as soon as I could with no job.
Crazy.
And
Wow.
yeah, anyway, I got an introduction in 79 to the director of Heidi Song at Hanna-Barbera. And he hired me, and I started in learning to be an in-betweener in their department there. They were making this, this feature called Heidi Song, which is, I don't even know if it came out. It was not great. But anyway, it was a wonderful training ground for me. And I was very, very happy. And I decided, I was going to be a career in-betweener.
Yeah.
Did you know about In-Between?
Yeah, what is
No, I
don't
knew
know what
nothing
that
about
is.
it.
And what is it?
Yeah, because I don't know anything about 2D.
Oh, well.
Oh, we're going to get into it?
Yes. Give us
Now
the
we're going to
101.
get into it. Yeah, okay. In 2D animation, the animator draws all the frames, and he does chart the whole thing. He has to do the acting and the drawing, and draw all the action, getting his direction from the director. And then he does all of this in rough form. And then it goes to the assistant, or nowadays it's key assistant. Back in those days it was just the assistant, but later it became key assistant, who does the cleaned up drawings, the drawings you actually see on the screen, for all of the big parts of the movement. And then it goes to the in-betweener to do all of the movements in between.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, if a character has their arm up like this, and that's going to be a key drawing, and then down like this, and then all the drawings in between. That's what the in-betweener does.
Oh, crazy.
Wow. And so you didn't have any experience before then? You learned the
No.
job.
Right.
But you were an artist.
I was an artist. I could draw. I had actually gone to school for fine art, and I did not get a degree, however. I left because I left that area of the country, and I just came out here and started working.
That's so cool.
So they trained me on the job, and I was, really grateful for it. It was good.
How interesting that when you mentioned animator, it's a he.
Yeah, I was literally like,
He. So is there a ratio of gender when it comes to key animators?
or when you first started. I'm more
Yeah.
interested about that. Yeah.
When I first started, there were female animators were pretty rare,
That's
and all the females were in cleanup.
clean up.
Was there
And mostly ink and paint.
Was there a reason why more female were in that?
Well, that's when the business got started, it was all male, and the women were relegated to ink and paint.
What is ink and paint?
Ink and paint, the drawings are put on these plastic sheets, and they were, back in the day, of course it's not like how it is now, but back in the day, they had all these women in the ink and paint department who would literally ink the cells with drawing ink and then paint them with cell vinyl, which is a kind of paint.
That's so cool.
On the back. And then they would, let them dry and then shoot them in the camera.
That's so cool.
It's so primitive, isn't it? When you think about it now, I mean, it's
cool.
Amazing that they ever did it that way, but that's how it was done.
That's so cool. They had that in, like, the was it, like, in the Bambi, like, behind the scenes?
Yeah.
I feel, okay.
Yeah.
I just had, like, flashbacks to, like, Bambi getting, like, painted.
Different layers.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Right.
So, would the male animators back in the day... Would they ever have to start off as, like, key or in between, or
or as cleanup,
yeah. Or would they just get to go?
No, I mean, they had to start off. I would imagine that they had to start off, many of them in that department. But they had to get trained, and well, I don't know, because I mean, I go pretty far back, but I don't go that far.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I wasn't on Bambi.
Snow White.
Bambi sucked anyway. Bambi traumatized generations of children.
Traumatize me.
Me too.
Still have not watched that movie after, like, 5 years old.
I just didn't know what was going on that forest. I was like, what is this emotion that I'm receiving? And I never wanted to watch it again.
I just remember I was, like, at my grandma's house, and, like, she doesn't speak, like, super great English, so she didn't know what was happening. I'm just, like, crying on the floor. And she's like, come on, watch Bambi the next day. I'm like, no.
Bambi,
no.
Dumbo, there were...
But Dumbo was fine. Dumbo was, like, more trippy. Like, the mom... Okay. Bambi is just a...
I love
Don't
Bambi.
show your children Bambi until they're
No.
able to process
Don't.
death.
Yeah, don't.
So, going back to your history.
Yeah.
In between, were there any specific skills that you had to have to keep that job? Or what is it that you really enjoyed about it, actually?
Well, I enjoyed the fact that I got to draw and be paid for it. That's what I enjoyed about it. And I was amazed. I never thought I was going to find a job like that. But to be a good in-betweener or assistant, you had to be fast and good.
Sounds like a woman's job.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. There are a lot of good male assistants.
I just like ragging on
And
them.
now, of course, it's very, very different. But,
Yeah.
Thank heaven.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember my first boss, Marilyn Taylor was her name, at Hanna-Barbera, and she told me there are all kinds of assistants. There are assistants that are very, very good. They draw very well, they design very well, they understand the silhouette, and they're great, but they're slow. And then you have the ones that are, they don't draw so well, but they're very, very fast. They're good for production. But then you have the ones who always get hired who are both fast and good. So that's what I was shooting for.
And that's what you were.
Yeah, well, I became that.
Over time.
Over time. It took me a long time. I think it takes a long time to hone that skill. I would say 5 years at least, minimum,
Yeah.
to really get good at it.
I feel like it's because then you're taking someone else's work, like understanding what they want you to do.
Mind reading, basically.
Yeah, and then you have to like fill in the gaps, but then like I don't know how you would do it, but I would like start at the first like that frame and then do a little bit and then go this frame and then do a little bit and then like hope in the middle it doesn't.
Nope.
No, how do you do it?
Nope.
Have you seen the rough sketches animators
No, I
do?
literally don't know anything.
It's like, how do you know which line to use?
Yeah, that's why I can't. I literally my
Well-
brain doesn't process it. It doesn't work like that.
Sometimes it's like that, and then sometimes.
Like, how do you do it?
Oh well.
You do it.
I just don't.
I've seen Lureline's lines, and I'm just like, how is this so precise? There's like no shake.
Well,
It's
this
just
is
so
this is
cool.
why I say
This is why
it
she's
takes
a
a
boss.
long time
Time.
to learn this skill. I mean, it's a skill, and it takes a very long time. in my view, to get really, really good at it. And also to have enough time to go through enough variety, a large enough variety of types of characters, from the realistic to the cartoony.
Was there any favorite project that you recall?
I have several. Well, I loved working on Little Mermaid.
Really?
Yeah.
My favorite.
That's your favorite?
It's my favorite.
That was a really fun film to work on.
What did you work on the?
On Ariel. I worked with Martin. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Martin was
brilliant
the
animator.
animation supervisor for Little Mermaid. Yeah.
And also, it was just so fun working with Ron and John. They were great directors. They really let people, do their work. They hired the best people they could find, and they let them do their work.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's the best director.
And then I also really, really loved working on Iron Giant.
I love
Iron Giant. A lot of people love it. I have yet to see it. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen
I
Iron
know.
Giant?
You need to go watch it. It's really good.
Oh, what a treat. That's great.
I just don't see you I don't know. I can see why you wouldn't see it.
I just never had the opportunity.
See, I never liked the Disney princess. I always like the animal ones.
See, it depends on what parents give you.
Yeah, my dad's like, no Disney girl princess
go
movies.
watch the princess stuff.
Yeah.
And no robots.
Mine was robots and all the animals. Like Oliver and Company is like my favorite movie ever.
Really?
And I named my cat after him. And then my fiance is obsessed with Oliver and Company, and it's my favorite movie ever.
That was a fun film
really?
to work on, too.
Was it good?
Yeah, I worked on Toby.
Oh.
No, wait. That was
Toby?
Basil at Baker Street. Sorry.
Too many films.
Yeah, so many films. I worked on Georgette. Yeah.
Okay,
Georgette.
I'll talk to you about this later, but me and my boyfriend always talk about that. I'm Georgette, and he's a little chihuahua. And the song where she girl, we've got work to do is it's my favorite thing ever. Did you work on that one?
I don't remember.
I think you did. We'll say you did.
Okay, yeah. I probably did. I mean,
that's her biggest thing. It's the biggest shot of her.
Yeah.
It's her dance.
So
Did you watch that one?
No. Fangirling, I don't know.
Oh my god, no. Yeah, I have to show you after. It's the best thing ever.
I have something on the list now to do.
You have a lot of them.
I know. But, okay.
Fangirling, sorry.
Going back again. So, Little Mermaid was one of your favorite projects, as well as Iron Giant. So what made it so special for you for those compared to the other ones? Was it?
Well, it was probably, the job that I was given personally. Mark Henn is a very, very prolific animator. He works very fast and pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had a lot of scenes piled up in my room, which is great because it was a challenge. And, it was a challenge to get it the way he wanted it. And so, I was very, very invested in it and very involved in it. And I loved it for that. It's great to get up and go to work every day because I had this challenge ahead of me, and it was great.
Yeah, it must have been crazy that you literally have piles.
Stacked
You can see how much stuff you have to do in the room. That's crazy.
I had a huge stack, and also I had 2 really good assistants who were helping me, but also. It was the camaraderie, and it was the directors, the whole feeling of how a production goes, I think comes from the directors ultimately, and, they were great. They were fun to work with, and they were just good guys. And Iron Giant was also like that. Brad Bird was the director of that, and Brad just has this great talent for rallying people around him. Everyone was so emotionally invested in that film. That was a great project.
I wonder if that's the reason why people love these feature films, because
you could tell
it
was
was
made with love.
Yeah, people enjoyed it.
Yeah, we really, really, that was a labor of love.
Aww.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad that you like a movie that people actually enjoyed?
Yeah. I feel like if I'm gonna give I think my key takeaway from the first 10 minutes of us talking to you is that you just if the director's good, everybody's happy and everybody does their best. So or the director is kind and shows passion. That's
and give the the employees the the space to do their job.
Yeah, like the trust, the support,
Yeah.
then you get the best. That's like, I mean, that's the best things my favorite projects are the ones where like the director was like your teammate.
Yeah, where they create an environment where we could collaborate,
Right.
rather than, there are some other projects where you could be a little bit gnarly and
Right.
not have a voice. Just like the collaboration, I think.
Yeah.
It's a huge impact of the outcome of the film. And also the people who enjoy it, they would announce it, they would talk about it, they would, years go by and they still talk about the fun stuff that they had. So here you go.
Yeah, the directors, the leader, it's their vision, and they take you on this journey with them.
So you get these things, like these, I don't know what they're called.
Scenes.
The scenes from your animator. Like, do you guys, like, talk about it? Or do they just, like, come...
Yeah.
Like, what's the process of, like, the handover? And, like, how does it go? What happens after you?
Well, usually you talk to your animator about what the business is in the scene, what they're looking for. If you've worked with that animator a lot, then you kind of already know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, once you have an animator and you guys work well together, do you guys stay together as a partner?
Well,
next
hopefully.
projects?
I mean, that's ideal, but back in the day, back in the 90s, that was going on a lot. But every picture, you'd have the same animator for the run of picture, but then the next picture, it's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
It's a whole different deal.
So are the animators because like in 3D you have like animators who are under like an animation supervisor, but it sounds like each animator was like given like a character kind of, and then you guys would like then that person would take care of the character throughout the whole process.
They would be the character lead.
Okay, and then
it doesn't mean that they would do every single scene of that character, but it meant that they would kind of oversee that character. So if there were other animators doing bits and pieces of it, other scenes,
they would do like the less important.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or get the hero shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they would have to, the lead animator would oversee it. Make
That's
sure
so
that
cool.
everything was fitting in the way it's supposed
It's so
to.
different. 'Cause
Yeah.
I guess like it makes sense because like in 3D you all have the same character model, but when you're
Right.
drawing it, like
You're not.
you have to draw it and it
Yeah.
always has to look the same. That's crazy. I can't understand that.
It is kind of crazy, isn't it?
It's horrifyingly
Yeah.
crazy.
How? Oh, yeah.
It's like depending on the animators, depending on the in-betweeners, like the character could slightly change.
Oh, and
right?
it does.
But then like everybody
if you
just
look
buys
closely,
like
most of the time they do change a little bit, but it doesn't matter. I mean,
suspension of disbelief.
yeah, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, if the story is really, really engaging, that's what's important, and it, it'll hang together.
Okay, so then the animator animates, then you do the in-betweens, and then
keys
someone
and the
cleans
in-betweens.
keys and in-betweens, and then someone cleans it up. Then what happens?
Well, no, okay.
Maybe.
No. So
Let her explain, the 101.
The director gives the scene to the animator. The animator roughs out the scene, works out all the timing, all the acting, all the business, and then it's all in rough form. Then it goes to your key assistant. They do the major moves, and those drawings are cleaned up. So the assistant and the cleanup person, that's the same person. So they're cleaned up. They're on model. They've got all the details.
And on model
is all the
is
secondary animations done, like hair flopping and clothes flopping and all that stuff.
cool. And then on model, for those who don't know, is that it matches.
It looks like the character.
The character.
Looks like the character. Yeah, we do model sheets in the beginning. Those change too, by the way, as the production goes on and on. They start
So
to
if
realize.
it starts changing, then what do you do with the ones that are already?
Well,
like,
sometimes we
done?
go back and redo some scenes, but they don't change that much. But they do. They
Yeah,
have
because like if
tendency
we
to
would just
evolve.
update the model and then re-render.
Yeah, but that's re-rendering. This
Yeah,
is like
I know,
going back
yeah.
to the paper.
Yeah, they don't usually change that much, but they do kind of evolve. And pretty soon, toward the end of the production, we're looking back at the old model sheets, and they're kind of flat.
Yeah.
The character starts to develop, and
Its own personality
Yeah.
outside of the...
So was Ariel different in the beginning?
Ariel is different throughout the film, actually. A little bit.
What do you mean?
Well,
You're gonna watch it later and be like,
I know.
the little magnifying glass.
she changes a bit through the film. But you can think of it as her kind of growing up because, you know, she's a very young girl. It starts out.
Yeah. Did you guys go, like, in order? Like, when you start... Okay. Yeah.
No.
So did she grow, mature, and then back to a
No,
kid?
no. It's not that... it's not that much of a difference. Just subtle. There's subtle differences. You know, it's being hand drawn. It's
I know.
We can't. I can't process it.
And also, you know, our crew was younger then. You know, there were the 9 old men, and then they all started getting older and retiring, and they didn't really train anyone.
They were too old.
Well, I don't know. There was a mindset that you know, they were going to own it forever or something. I'm not exactly sure. But they didn't do a whole lot of training, and then the training started kind of picking up.
But it was almost too late.
Yeah, in the like 70s.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, it takes a long, long time to develop what they did and to develop that skill.
And they worked with Walt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
and we didn't have Walt, you know. So
yeah.
And,
wow. I mean, you guys made an amazing project that is still talked about till this day. So, I just know that there was one scene where her hair flips out of like the other way around.
Did they fix it though before they put it on Disney Plus?
No. I don't think it can be fixed. It was during her part of her world, I think, and she's coming down, and then her hair flips. I think it was that scene.
I remember. Or was she on the rock?
Yeah, she was on the rock.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only thing I'm like. I remember that one, but everything else looked the same to me in my kid's eyes. Okay. So it goes into ink and paint. Oh, wait, no. Cleanup.
After key art.
Well, key art is cleanup. Cleanup is the whole assistant part of it. After the animator, it's in cleanup.
Okay.
Which is assistants and in-betweeners. Key assistants, and in-betweeners.
Okay.
That's cleanup. Sorry.
And what's the process like? How long does it take what's like the average time that you are given to get your section done?
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on the length of the scene. You know, if it's on 1s or 2s, it just depends on what it is. I mean, some scenes are, you know, a foot long and some are 20 feet.
They worked 1 foot.
Okay, let's do some translation for the youths. 1s and 2s.
Yeah. So, 1s means there's a drawing for every single frame.
And there's usually 24 frames.
Yes.
A second.
In a second, yeah.
Right. And then on 2s, it's a drawing every other frame.
So you would have 12 frames per second.
Right.
And usually, like, action scenes, are on 1s or 2s?
It depends.
It's a style choice.
When do you use
It's
those?
a style choice, and every animator's different, and they determine what it's going to be. And they chart the movement. And so on the drawings, there are these little charts that tell you where all the in-betweens are going to be, or how they're supposed to be positioned. Like some of them will be very close to the beginning of the action, some will be very close to the end of the action. So it's kind of
So you could start a scene off in 1s and then go to 2s and then go back to 1s, hypothetically.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, depending upon what's happening, you know, and the animator determines that.
Have you seen those chart the animators use?
No, but I just remember when we worked on that one short that we had the 2D effects. That's the only time I ever heard about what 2s were.
Oh, really?
I didn't. I was 3D.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it was my first time seeing the actual chart in front of me when I was working at Disney in Creative Legacy with Lureline. Eric Goldberg had this like huge chart and just like writing each characters and writing these numbers. I was like, what's going on here?
Oh, that's the exposure sheet.
Exposure
The charts are the little hand-drawn things on the drawing, on the actual drawings.
So there's the big one, and then there's
that's
a
the
smaller.
X sheet.
Yeah. And then there's a smaller one that's on the animation that they do. There's a little small chart that gives the details of what in between.
I'm going to be Googling later.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Brendan has it. He has all the sheets.
Oh, yeah.
You could probably, if it's on the website, we could probably see it.
Yeah, we have all the original X sheets from every single production.
Oh,
Do
nice.
you have...
What we do is we actually translate them and redo the pencil tests. So the pencil tests, we have like a 4K resolution recreation of the original animation, which is really cool. And what we just did, the ARL, we just helped produce the show for Cirque du Soleil, which is in Florida right now.
I was going to just ask, do you have theirs?
Show, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not credited there because that was before I started, but yeah, really cool.
Lureline and I worked on that project.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you saw our pencil test then.
Yeah.
That was all us.
It's great.
Oh, yeah.
Small
I
world.
digitized all the artwork.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you get all the X sheets for that one?
Yeah, we have all the X sheets.
Okay, good. Because it was all packed up in my room.
I have a question for you, an ARL question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you guys have all the stuff from Sleeping Beauty? All the drawings?
Everything from Sleeping Beauty. There's some private stuff like visual development that's been like sold on auction, but we actually have a budget to buy that back and put it back in our vault.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so glad.
Where are you going to buy frames?
She just wants to see them.
Well, you know, back in the day, back in the 90s when I was at Disney, actually the 80s, when I was at Disney, because I started there in, I think it was either 81 or 82. My first thing working there was Mickey's Christmas Carol, which was a little short.
Yeah.
And then I went on to Kohler. But back in the day, they had this department called the morgue, and it was in the bottom of the ink and paint building, I believe, in the basement. And you went down there, and they had all the drawings, and they had one guy taking care of all of it. And you could go down and check out a scene from Cinderella or a scene from Sleeping Beauty. And just look at it, all the drawings right there in a little folder.
That's so cool.
And they were amazing. They were amazing.
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
They were so beautiful, those drawings, and just so perfect.
I think the only thing I have similar is I was an intern at Digital Domain right when they were moving from like their like Venice office to like the other one, and I got to like they had me like going through files and I like saw all the stuff from Titanic. Like I had like all the like set photography and like all the like film the little film pieces. Yeah, they had all that and I was like, whoa.
Film strips.
Yeah, they had all the film strips and like just stuffed in the back corner. I'm like, this is so cool. And they had like behind the scenes from like what is that? Incredible Mind. I took them. They had all these. They were gonna throw them away. I have all these like continuity shots from like A Beautiful Mind, like when he's like drawing all over the board. I've like stuffed away in the closet. Like they were gonna throw it away anyway.
I was when I was working in creative legacy department, like for example Cirque du Soleil, watching you guys, Lureline, Rachel, and then Marken and Eric Goldberg working on, and Randy. There were 3 animators and 2 cleanup artists, and Brandon, who was the TD guy who was bringing everything into digital.
Yeah.
These papers, I'm looking at them like, how are they doing this? And I found your work and everyone else's work like amazing. And I was wondering, where are these going after?
To Brendan.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it went to Brendan.
Actually, a lot of it is still sitting in Brandon's office right now.
Brendan, we need you to grab Brandon's.
Well, not yet. Just wait, because we're going to use it for the trainees. Trainees a little bit, and then it's going to be turned over to the ARL.
So I bet, however you feel about Cinderella, the new trainees are going to feel the exact same emotion.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe if they've never seen a real Cinderella scene or a real Sleeping Beauty scene. Oh my God. Honestly.
Can we go see that? Is that, or...
I doubt that.
Can we, Brendan, if you're a Disney employee?
Well, we're not doing outside tours yet. Still there, maybe I can get you guys on the list. We'll see once we start opening up again. Because it's truly amazing to see everything and just, I don't know, just open a random box and you'll find some treasures.
I remember seeing the scene in Sleeping Beauty where the prince is on the horse and the horse is all bucking around, because he's coming up on all those thorns. And Okay, first of all, the design of that film is so beautiful and so difficult. And these drawings are perfect. And I noticed that there were all these little, in the corner, there were all these little initials, different initials. And I asked the guy who was training me, his name was Tom Ferreter, great old cleanup guy, assistant. He was the first person I worked with at Disney. And I asked him about it. Why are all these initials there? And he said, because there were people who would do just the horse head, and then somebody else would do the horse body, and somebody else would do the prints. And I'm thinking,
What?
how was all of this coordinated to be and just turn out so perfectly? But, you know, back in the day, it was very much more an organic process.
Yeah.
We were just all in the same building. We were all in the same area, and it was just, it was driven by the animator. The animator was like the king of the scene, the queen, but mostly it was kings.
Royalty.
And they drove the whole thing, and they controlled the whole thing, and they oversaw the whole scene, you know, the whole
Yeah. I think that's like the thing
Miss?
as a production person, I hate being the person to tell you, like, speed it up. But then it's like, but then you guys did all this, like, cool shit, and you didn't really have to worry about that.
Actually,
It took a
yeah.
lot longer to do the films, too, but...
How did, in terms of scheduling then, if the animator was like the one who's driving this, how did you guys maintain
When did they stop?
deadline? Yeah.
What? Did it say what?
When did they stop?
When
How-
did
how
what?
do you-
Oh.
How did you maintain deadlines then?
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah, well,
Were there I mean, I
they
guess
just did.
They
They
just
knew they had to get it done, and they just worked hard, and they did it, and they could maintain it.
That's crazy.
I mean, as long as everybody's working really hard and doing their best and doing what they're trying to do, you can maintain the deadlines without, you know, it's
Mara and I are just, like, giving each other the
Without
side eye right now.
to say without production, but no, that's not what I meant.
We know what you mean.
Yeah,
Back
we
in the
know.
day, I keep saying back in the day, and it's back in the day.
I say back in the day for, like, 2010.
Oh, we say it too.
Well, in the early 80s, we had 3 people in the department that were kind of running things. There was Ed Hansen, who was the head of animation, I believe. And there was a secretary, I think her name was Joann. Gosh, I can't believe I can't remember her. And Joe. And Joe kind of took care of all of the supplies, and Joann took care of, you know, paycheck and stuff like that. And then Ed Hansen ran everything. And then we had a couple of people who were assistants who were running around with clipboards, and everything was written down on paper, of course. And they were, you know, checking to make sure that people were on task. But that was it.
I feel like the more we've added, I'm going to be a backstabber right now. The more we've added production, the more artists need production so that they become unable to manage their own time.
Do you think it has changed in that kind of sense? Like, seeing the difference.
You know, I really
Spill
I
the
don't
juice.
think that that the artists need anyone to really manage their time, but you know, making a film, it's a big thing, and there needs to be somebody overseeing and making sure all the parts coming together when they need to be coming together. So I think, you know, the production staff is definitely needed to organize things. But as far as managing artists' time, really so much, all the artists I know are pretty darn good at managing their time. It's pretty rare that you see an artist who needs somebody to come in and...
But are you talking about like cleanup artists, like female artists?
No, I'm talking about animators and cleanup people, both male and female. Any artist that I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of hard to be an artist and not have a work ethic, because then you're not...
I wouldn't say it's, like, worth it. It's just, like, he's, like, just confused. Like, I'll tell you, like, this is when it's due. And then the day happens, I'll be like, you didn't tell me that. I'm like, I told you. And it was on this
Okay,
paper
well,
I put on your desk.
Let me explain something to you. When you put somebody in charge of somebody else, they're going to act like they're 15.
That's what I was saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, the more people...
That's why I was asking, because a lot of the times what happens is that I don't end up going to a lot of female artists because they come to me. And it was like, less great.
Exactly.
There's definitely male artists who are just as great, but maybe because the majority of them are male, they... I was expecting for me to go to them.
Gender aside, like, I mean, I always said, like, the more people you have to put in charge of you, like, the less you start thinking about it. And then you're like, oh, someone's just going to tell me. And then I don't have to worry about it or keep track of my own time. And then, like, all this newer generation of people are coming in. And they never had to, like, check their own time.
That's it, yeah.
Oh, so we basically ruined their work ethic.
I'm not saying it ruined it. Like, they don't have to, like, they
It's
have
just
the
less
joy
thing
of
to
not
worry.
having to worry about it.
Yeah, focus more on the art, less on the production track thing.
Well, let me ask you guys something as production people. Have you ever... is it a big problem getting the artist to stay on task and get things in time? Is it a problem? Not a problem. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean to say is
it hard to get that?
Is it hard? I mean, is it something that, you feel like if you don't do it, they just won't get it in on time? They won't get it in on time.
I don't think it's that. I think it's a lot of the times what happens is that schedule changes, I think that's where...
And then, so your information, you've got to give them the information.
Yeah.
That's what you're there for, is give them the information.
And I feel like, for me, it was never really the art. Like, some artists are just, like, your typical, like, stereotypical artist, like, head in the clouds, like, having fun, which I love. I love it. But then you're like, oh, it's delivery night. This guy just left the building. I'm waiting for him to finish something, and I can't get home until he finishes his job. He went to go get dinner down the street. And I'm like, where the hell did you just go?
All right. Here is where the rubber meets the road.
I mean, have you heard these guys?
Number one.
But I will say...
Artist with head in the clouds. I have to take issue here.
I know!
Yes! They do exist, right?
My dad is an artist. I love him. But he's just not... He's
looks
creative.
like that to
yes.
you. Okay. It may look like that
And
to
I
you.
say head in the
get
clouds, and I mean head in the art.
Wait, so what is it?
It's not head in the clouds. It's the creative process is you have to go somewhere in yourself to find that frequency of mind so that you can do this very hard job.
Yes.
And if you can't get there, I mean, sometimes you got to go eat first. Sometimes you got to sit there
reset
like this first, for like 15 minutes.
What if I gave him food and he just left?
You can't control it.
I know.
You can't control the creative
outside
side of
person
it. That's
cannot
true.
control the creative process of an artist. Or, they have to do it themselves.
Totally understandable. That makes sense.
They really do. I learned this early on.
Oh, yeah. I think it's funny. I just was, like, annoyed because I wanted to go home.
Well, of course. And I get that.
I was like 10 p.m. like, I just want to go home.
I love this, like, artist versus production, like, what we are thinking.
This is a real life occurrence, guys.
I completely understand and sympathize with the
you're an artist.
Production people.
I no, and I totally understand what she means, is that sometimes you just need to get away because you have a roadblock.
And I don't understand.
Or you get tired. Your eyes and your back and your neck and everything, you just get tired. Your mind, you get tired. You have to just, like, step back and take a break. And this is why, in our union, we had it mandated that we would get 15-minute breaks twice a day. And
that's perfect.
And no one takes those anymore, by the way.
Yeah, of course not.
But it doesn't matter because everybody now, it's much more organic now, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think... Oh, go ahead.
Well, it just, for the artist, you have to get... If I have a big scene in front of me, it's like a big, gnarly scene, I know it's going to take huge amount of time. I don't just, like, dive in and start getting on it. I mean, sometimes I do, but a lot of times I have to go through it. I'll go through the whole thing. I'll pull out the keys. In fact, I almost always do this. I pull out the key drawings first. I separate everything out. I look at the video of it and see if I really understand what's going on with the action. Try to catch any subtleties. Think about what the animator said to me about the scene. Then I pull out the key drawings that I know that I'm going to be doing, and I flip those, and I have to think about it for a while.
Yeah.
It could be overwhelming.
I look at the model sheet. I make sure I know what's going on there and that I understand what the changes are since the model sheet was developed and all that stuff. And then I might clean my house.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
And then, the hours are going by and I'm thinking, and then I'm starting to think, oh, God, I better get on that scene right now because I got to get... So then I'll sit down and the first couple of drawings are, and I'm going slow, but after a while, once you get into it, you kind of develop a rhythm and get a momentum, and then pretty soon the drawings are just flying off the thing, and that's what you're trying to get to all the time. But honestly, it takes a while, and it may look like from the outside that I'm avoiding work.
Yeah, I mean, you like paint and you draw and like you do stuff like that. I like my paint in numbers.
You like painting.
I know, but I do paint by numbers. I just literally zone out and I just paint in the square. Because, I mean, I'm creative, but not in, like, the art way. I'm creative, like, in other ways with other stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't understand, but, like, my dad's an artist and I could see it. So, like, I know what he does, and it's, like, he's my dad, so it gets annoying. But, like, I understand, I just don't understand.
See, for me, when I go to, like, me as a production person, when I go to my artist, one is there anything I need to inform them so they're aware of it? Because I don't like them to not know the information, because it could be relative. Two, is everything okay, or is there anything that's having issue? Like, for example, if they got a scene and they realize, like, initially they were okay with the timeline, but then they realize, oh my God, there's actually more than what expected, or like the character isn't coming out right, or something, then it's good to be aware of that. And so it's like, how can we support that so that they are not stressed with the deadline?
Yeah.
That's more or less like
I would always give more time because I don't want to my name on something that's not good.
But a lot of the times we don't give the
and then we're the bad guys. Yeah.
Often do not have the choice.
So we kind of
there's some or it's the person who, like Savanna, me, who I'm an everyman, I'm a layman. I think it looks fine. I don't know what you're talking about. This thing that you're focusing on, I wouldn't notice it. 95% of the people watching this won't notice it. Mm-hmm. So then it's nice to have, it's nice to have a production person to be like, you know what? It looks beautiful. I know that you are fixating on this, like, one little thing that you want to be better, but is it something that only you and, like, all these beautiful creative minds would notice?
Well, okay. Yeah. That is often true, but then the other side of that, and there's a fine line, is that, you want your piece to withstand the test of time. Yes. And often people think that they don't notice things, but in time they actually do.
Yes.
Or if you compare it to something else. So you want to achieve the highest level.
You want to be proud of it.
Yeah, no. I'm all for... I will say an example. I'm in a review. It's 3D. The director's tweaking on this one little lip movement that happens for 2 frames on this photoreal guy. Nobody's going to notice that.
But
he will.
They might notice subconsciously.
Yeah, but like he's like, it ruins a whole mouth movement. And I'm like, it doesn't bother me. And if I stare at it, but I'm looking at the big picture.
Right.
You're not going to have someone sitting on a loop staring at a shot for 20 minutes.
No, but it might affect the big picture, actually. I know.
The bar is high.
You're
talking with folks who have high bar, okay?
I have a high bar, too.
And this is why we have
But if there's a speckle on the screen in the corner that nobody's going to notice.
True. But nowadays, people do notice everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that I remember the hair flip coming out of nowhere.
Exactly.
And I didn't draw it. I didn't know what the process was, but I just remember the hair flipped. And
but then you remembered it. So now you remember that movie. It's memorable now.
It is. I mean, that's not the reason why it's memorable.
I think she might have remembered that movie, but yeah.
I
hope.
In my heart of hearts, creative is the best part.
Well,
And I want to facilitate that.
Yes.
And if you're going to spend all this time working on this one little thing,
Yeah, okay.
and you can't
it's
use
true.
that time for
No,
other stuff,
You're right. Savannah,
it's fine.
You're
We're
right.
You guys, you're seeing this real time. This is what happens.
This is what we
Right.
always talk
I just
about.
met her like an hour ago, and this already started.
You're right, though. You're right. I mean, sometimes it is important.
This is
to
this is
move
like the
people
best.
off the dime.
That's why it's called Could Be Better, CBB.
Right.
Some of those
Yeah,
details.
I mean, I hate when I work on something and it's bad. Like, I don't want to tell people.
Yeah,
And thankfully, I haven't.
good. Because they're all great.
Yeah, they're all great. And I will take my money and I will save it and be like, let's do it at the end.
Well, okay, I have a question, Lureline.
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion of production? Working with production?
No, we went a different way. This is
I'm
great.
curious now.
obsessed.
You said, is there a problem with it? Now you heard
Who's
our
your
side.
favorite? Hold on. We'll take Mariel. Who was the best production person you've worked with? We'll exclude Mariel, so she doesn't. There's no pressure. There's no pressure to include her or
thank God.
exclude her.
Okay.
The best production people. Well, I mean. Oh God, that's a hot.
Or if you had the choice, what are like the top 5 characteristics of someone that you would have
Okay, that's a better question.
that like
Yeah, no
would
name
enrich
calling
you, made you feel like you had your space, but kept you like on track and just like helped you feel motivated, inspired,
good
whatever.
production partner?
Yes.
You basically just described the good the good production partner is somebody who has all those qualities. Somebody who's I mean, all those things you just said. Somebody who will understand the process that I'm having to go through to do something, and who will support me in it.
Yeah.
And define supporting. What are some examples?
Well, it's like what you talked about before, letting me know the timeline, letting me know about any changes, offering to help me with any problems that I run into with the scene. Those things.
Yeah. Being an ear.
Yeah.
Being
an
a
ear.
therapist occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Maybe.
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 Perhaps. I mean, if I get close to my production people, which I often do, then yes.
So, what, I don't think every artist has a close relationship with production, but what makes you, like, do you like being close to production? Or like,
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah, because it's a team, it's a team effort. Making a film is
Yeah.
a team thing, and, it makes it just so much nicer to have a good, close working relationship with everyone, with everyone involved.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you don't want, if somebody's coming into my room every day or every week or whatever,
You don't want to like shudder when they walk in.
yeah, I'm not going to ignore them or not know them as a person.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's
That's very kind of you, because I don't think everybody has that mentality.
yeah, really. Maybe just sees them as it's part of the cog of the machine.
You know
Yeah.
how many times I get into fights with my dad?
Why?
He's like, the coordinator was telling me I needed to do something. I'm like, it's her job. She doesn't get paid enough to get in trouble by you.
That's
This sounds kind of almost like that thing, okay, I was head of cleanup on Iron Giant, and
Yeah.
I'll never forget the production before that at Warner Brothers. There was a guy who was the head of cleanup. His name is Marty Korth, brilliant artist, good friend. And he told me as I was coming into the job, he said, I just want to tell you that, once you get in this position, everybody is going to act like they're a 15-year-old teenager. And you're going to have
That's
to
my dad.
That's kind of what I was thinking. It kind of sounded like a situation like that.
This is a complete derail, but my dad forced me to go buy a car with him in Anaheim. He made me drive an hour. I told him I didn't want to go. I was tired. Something flew on the freeway, hit our car. And I was like, this is a sign. We need to go home. Something else happened. I was like, we need to go home. This is a sign. He buys the car. Then he comes home 2 weeks later. He calls me like, why did you let me buy the car? And I'm like, I told you I didn't want to go. I told you it was a sign 3 times that we shouldn't go. I told you there we shouldn't get it. And then once you got the car, I'm like, okay, fine. Then you have the audacity to call me and tell me it was my fault you bought the car?
Your dad.
It's wild.
Your
but this,
dad.
And
Now,
that's why I'm in production, because I understand these.
Oh my
I understand the worst of it.
Okay, was your dad like that before?
My entire life.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know.
Why do you think I am the way I am?
Oh my god.
That's why I'm like this.
So was there? Okay, I want to ask. If you could spill some juicy stuff.
Oh, I'll try.
Did you have? Do you recall any story where you had some conflicts with either the animators or production?
Oh.
I'm sure there's a lot.
Yeah. Let's see.
Any fun stuff?
Okay. You know, I don't ever recall having any kind of problem or altercation or anything with production people, ever. Never, never, never.
Because we're nice.
Wow.
Well, there have been, yes. I mean, for the most part, that's been my experience. That all the production people that I've ever had to work with have been extremely supportive and trying really hard just to make my job easier, which I appreciate.
So wait, then the whole part of it, is it so hard to like keep the deadline with artists?
Yeah.
Is that coming from personal experience or seeing what's happening with other folks?
I just want to know how the production people see it. Do they see it as a real chore to try to keep everybody on task?
No.
Because I haven't noticed any artist. Most of the artists I know are so driven.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's like, if I have like a sample pool of like 50, it's maybe like 2 or 3.
Usually what the issue is everything that's happening around it.
Right,
It's not,
right,
it's
right.
90% of the time,
Right.
it's not the artist, it's like client feedback, director feedback, like studio feedback, like the note just is really hard to hit, and there's no time, or like 3D wise, like it just takes 2 hours to open the file, so every time you ask them to do a little noodly note, you have to add like an extra 2 hours to whatever that note takes.
Also, what the upcoming tasks are, it's like, is it doable? Like, do they have the time for it? Like, is it going to be overwhelming? How
Right.
are their mental state?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Stuff like that. It's just the outside stuff. It's not them.
Yeah.
I think my
Sometimes,
favorite,
but-
I liked going to the artist because it was like fun. It was like a break.
Yeah.
I love art. I mean,
I love going to her room. 'cause
Yeah,
there was a
it's
sofa
fun.
that was just like, welcome, sit
and
here.
the vibes are so chill, and like everybody's just
Yeah.
like happy to be there 90% of the time.
Well, we're
That's
so
why we're
lucky.
here.
It's a good job, you know. I mean, animation is such a great career.
Yeah,
Such
but like
a great
if we
career.
didn't like artists, like we wouldn't do this job.
Exactly.
Like I love artists.
I moved.
Yeah, well you moved, but you did it for other
I moved to
reasons.
technology.
Oh.
So I'm alone.
But like I left, and I'm like I miss my artists.
I do miss it, yeah. I mean, working from home is so different. That's why I kind of shift my department. But if we were still at the studio, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, like I love being in reviews. That's like, I mean, when they would get to like 3 hours, I would start getting bored. But like 30, 40 minutes, I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, watching all that.
And then you learn
magic
stuff as you get
happening.
older. Like you start seeing things, and you start getting your own creative. And like so like the only time where I started to like understand like what's going on, and like how to give see people give feedback, and it's really interesting.
I just really enjoy seeing the process of 2D animation, like traditional 2D animation. Of like, I thought I passed that phase where I was never able to like see it in person. But the fact that like Cirque du Soleil, how
Is there like a resurgence happening? It kind of feels like there is.
It does feel
With
like
like
there is.
Netflix
The trend
and
is coming
stuff.
back.
Yeah.
Seems like it.
You guys-
reviving.
yeah.
Because we all miss it. It was good.
Yeah, we took a break.
Yeah.
They realized 3D is like really intense.
Right.
People like feeling nostalgic.
Right, and you know, I mean, it's like anything that the pendulum swings around. It's just like, you know, in fashion, it's the 70s and 80s again.
Yeah. So how are you feeling with the current situation of animation?
What do you mean exactly? How am I feeling with it? I mean, it feels pretty great to still be in it. I'm amazed and grateful that I get to still be part of it at 68 years old.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
How long
And
have you been in the industry then?
43 years.
Jeez.
Which is incredible. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You've like, your work has like, generations of children have like been in love with.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very funny to me that people your age come up to me and talk to me about Mermaid. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so cool. It's like,
I mean, yeah, I didn't want to. I don't know if I ever like showed that I like Mermaid was the Little Mermaid was like my huge like favorite film.
I knew that about you.
Oh yeah, okay.
so.
I was trying to hide it.
When she had her longer hair and it was like all wavy, I'm like, I know she's doing Mermaid.
Oh, MG. Actually, what is it? Was it in high school or college? Like we had to draw like. What is, like, it was a paper, it's like, blank canvas, it's like, draw something that, like, represents you or something, and I literally drew the Little Mermaid. Yeah.
Oh, so cute.
Oh my god.
So, we've talked about, like, the resurgence happening, like, for you, like, do you, like, have you any interest in, like, retiring, or are you gonna just keep going, because you're having so much fun, like?
I'm not gonna retire until I have to.
That's
So
amazing.
cool.
Yeah, I just want to keep doing it.
Yeah, you're having fun.
I'm having fun. I love the art form. I love the people I work with. I am so blessed to be able to work with Eric Goldberg and Randy Hickok and Mark Henn. Yeah, I'm just right where I want to be.
That's
That's
awesome.
great. Yeah, and you said you were, like, forever cleanup artist. Like, was that something that you made as a decision
Yeah.
early on and
I
you're
didn't-
happy with?
Yes, because I'm actually a fine artist, and I never really wanted to be an animator. Now, there was a point where I thought I wanted to be in VizDev, and I think I would have really, really loved that. But by that time, I was so involved in feature production that, you know, I was working in the 90s or the 80s the 80s. We were working so many months out of every year, long overtime periods that, you know, there just wasn't room for that. And then by the time that there was room for it,
The itch went away?
Yeah, I guess it did, because I had developed my own creative life so much at that point that I was really satisfied with it.
Yeah.
I'm a fine artist. I do painting.
On the side?
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's like, well, it's almost like you don't want, like, I hear a lot of people, like, they don't want to make their love their work, and it's almost like you've kind of found, like, a happy medium with it. Like, you still can be creative, but then you don't, like, the stuff that you enjoy on the side, it doesn't get marred by, like, the
Not at
work
all.
stress.
I mean, I get tired.
Yeah.
There's only so much energy and only so many hours in the day, but I do end up having time for my own stuff.
That's
Lureline
awesome.
used to put her art on the wall in the
That's so
office,
awesome.
and I would always come in and like enjoy looking at it. It was just so fun to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got, like, the perfect where you get to do what you love, and then you still get to love what you get to do at home.
I miss that life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty perfect, I have to say.
That's awesome. So your role, if someone asks, what does Lureline do? She's a cleanup artist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because you had cleanup, you had in-between, but cleanup artist.
Yeah, the cleanup department, the assistant department, they're the same. They're the same. And it's key cleanup, assistant, and in-betweener.
This probably gonna be pretty popular because, I mean, traditional 2D animation is coming around and they're looking for folks.
It's amazing how many, I think we got over 2,000 applicants
crazy.
for the 6 positions that we had open.
Wow.
Yeah, we had more applicants for any job opening that has been for animation in quite a while.
Nice.
We got that's what I was told, that we had the most applicants.
Will you be training folks then?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay, so if someone watched this episode, they're inspired, what would you tell them to do?
Draw people. Just draw.
Like in
As
action?
much as possible. Yeah. Draw. And No, really, just draw
Nice.
Nice draw.
Go to school?
every day. Yeah, go to school.
If you want.
Take
did
classes.
not. I did not. But now things are different. I mean,
Yeah.
I had 2 years of junior college, but it was fine art. So
But that's like a very strong, like, that's like you're learning like lighting
drawing,
and like
yeah.
structure and like how to draw.
I mean, there's so many resources now. You could take classes online,
oh yeah,
You could
Go to
So
your rec center.
listen to podcasts, watch podcasts.
Right.
So, well, Lureline, thank you so much for coming today. It's been such a pleasure.
exciting.
Yeah,
My
we're
pleasure. Thank you
hope
for
to
inviting
see you
me.
again. Yeah, of
Thank you.
course.
Thank you.
Well then, ladies, guess this is the end of this podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks.
guys.
Thanks, Lureline.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information, follow us on Instagram at Ladies in Prod Podcast, or you can email us at ladiesandprodpodcast@gmail.com.